Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Black Men Matter series on the male perspective. The podcast that's all about dispelling stereotypes and shining a light on the rich and varied experiences of Black men from all around the world. Each episode aims to broaden understanding and foster appreciation for their unique stories that often go unheard. Now, here is your host, Lana Reed, to introduce you to yet another remarkable Black man with an insightful perspective to share.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reed, and today, on this day, I have the pleasure of sitting down with a gentleman by the name of Castillo, Francis Castillo. He is a self-published author, family man. He's out here spreading some very inspirational messages to us all, and I am so excited to spend some time with him today. But first and foremost, as I always do, sir, I take a quick moment to pause and say thank you to you for making time for me today. Time is a gift. Once we give it, we cannot get it back. So I truly appreciate you setting aside this time in your day to sit down and chat with me. And with that, Mr. Castillo, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Lana. I appreciate you even having me on the show. I'm honored and humbled. So thank you so much. I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, we just have a short amount of time together today, so let me jump right in. You have some books out called Leveling Up and Leveled Up. And I always like to ask when I run into somebody who is a fellow author, because writing is no easy feat. What started this journey for you to become a self-published author?
Great question. Great introduction. Great question. It was a roundabout journey. So this is the first book right here. And long story short, I paid homage and honor to my grandmother. Her name was Cora Lewis, or Cora Castillo. And long story short, she was born in Belize. I was born in Belize. She fell in love with a man from Britain who came to Belize, who was coming to survey the land and write a book himself. Lo and behold, him and my grandmother fell in love, and she helped him publish the book. Rumor is that she never got the credit. Some people told me she did get the credit. Some people told me she did it. And to make everything full circle, I decided to dedicate the first book to her. That was one of the inspirations. The second inspiration definitely had to been, I was reading other books at the time, T.D. Jakes, Steve Harvey, other authors, and I told myself, well, I have a story to write as well. And the last thing, which I talked about in the second book, was Leveled Up, is that God was leaving me breadcrumbs my whole life, and I didn't get a chance to actually, understand it till I got older. So I won a Martin Luther King poetry contest like in the second grade. Then another breadcrumb he dropped was my psychology teacher. She told me to introspect, and I just started writing, and I never stopped writing. So that's how, in a roundabout way, how I became an author.
Was it a long process to write the book, or did it come just flash?
First one was quicker because it took me 2 years to write the first book. Lo and behold, the difficulty of writing the first book was I didn't know how to land the plane, because I wanted to keep the audience captivated, and I wanted to make sure that I kept their attention. Mm-hmm. The second book actually took me 4 years to write.
You should have had it down packed by then.
I know, I should have, right? A lot of hiccups were along the way, but the second book is a lot better, and I'm a better writer too, so I'm excited about both projects.
Awesome. So does the title Leveling Up and Leveled Up give away the content? What are the messages in the book?
The first one, Leveling Up, actually, I say this to everybody because I'm a certified life coach as well. I think everyone can level up in some form or facet in their lives, right? In anything that you're doing, spiritually, because the title of the first book is Leveling Up Mentally, Spiritually, and Financially. So I intentionally left mental things where I had to overcome a lot of hurdles. One of the stories was my mom had a stroke, and she was living in Alaska. And I had to find a way. God willing, I found a way to get to Alaska to pack her up in one day. I got off the plane. It was 8 degrees. and packed her up, got her out the airport, at the hospital, and moved her back to Winston-Salem at the time. And that was a great, great journey. And then I talk about financial advice, how to invest in the stock market. And I got some poems in here. So the first book is very diverse.
Okay, a well-rounded man. How did mom get up in Alaska?
She found herself finding a job, a nursing job in Alaska, of all the places. And I would say this, it was cold, it was 8 degrees, but they had some of the prettiest mountains I've ever seen in my life.
Mm.
So I want to eventually go back to to eat the salmon, to eat the food, but I just haven't had a chance to yet.
Okay. So we've got some messages in there. You said financial and overcoming some things. And I think I read, and excuse me if I can, pry a little bit, your personal story, you've overcome some stuff from a young man?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, you said something key earlier. One thing about being a writer, you have to be vulnerable. And I know you know about that as well.
Mhm.
My father had a heart attack, and I lost my father when I was 11 years old, and I lost my stepdad at 22. Um, and I was living in Chicago at the time because I've lived in New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, all before moving to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. But that was one of the biggest hurdles I had to face was, losing one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me, which was my father, losing a father figure growing up as an African American per se, or Belizean as well in America. Kind of navigating the life without my original father, because my stepfather came in my life when I was around 13, 14.
Mhm.
And I think I tell people all the time, God didn't forsake me because he sent me a great man as well, which is my stepfather. So I would be remiss not to give him his flowers as well. But that was one of the biggest hurdles I faced, growing up, was losing my father.
Mm, mm, mm. So, you give a lot of inspirational tips, because a lot of times when people find ourselves in life challenges, some people have a tendency to kind of wallow in it and say, this is it, they accept it. They don't see that they can actually turn the car around. What motivation or encouragement, because I know this book has inspirational gems on how to navigate life challenges, and you also mentioned that you're a life coach. How do you advise somebody to kind of start that process of doing the work and pulling themselves out of this pit? Because sometimes people get stuck there.
Actually, the first step is to heal.
Hmm.
I feel like um, healing is the number one thing with anything. I'm gonna be totally transparent. I remember being young, and I remember me having to deal with the issue of, like, God, why would you do this to me, right? And I'm gonna be honest, I was upset with God. Let's just say for like a month or so, I was really upset
Hmm.
with God, right? And I think there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's because, like, okay, God is God is who He is. We're nothing without God. But I'm young. I'm 11 year old. I'm 11 years old. So you have to put yourself in an 11-year-old mindset. And then I had to tell myself, okay, well, that was God's will. That was God's way. And I've had to heal, find myself having to heal from that. Like, okay, look, well, how do you move forward from now? What would your father would have wanted you to do? In a lot of situations, a lot of instances, I asked myself, like, okay, if he was alive, what would he want me to do? I've talked to several different people, um, as far as other male figures. I had coaches, I had my brother, I had my stepfather, and I adhered to their guidance, and I guess that was my form of therapy without
Oh,
actually going to therapy. So I
gotcha.
advise anyone to definitely seek healing. And then, you know, if you fall in anything what you're doing, because everyone fails at things,
Hmm.
if you fall 7 times, pick yourself back up 8, you know. And it's also about perspective, how you look at things. You can look at say, okay, this is bad. I'm going to be affected for this for the rest of my life. Or you can just pick yourself up by the bootstraps and understand what am I going to do moving forward? What's my solution? Am I going to stay and wallow in this pity? Am I going to stay in this depressive state? Or am I going to just open the blinds? Am I going to go outside, get some fresh air? Am I going to seek the therapy that I need to move forward, to find my way to heal myself? There's nothing wrong with therapy. I've been in therapy multiple times. I don't currently have a therapist. I need to get one again. But I think for your mental state, you need to, get therapy and heal.
Mhm. Get some therapy, get some heal. I guess that's the overcoming, accepting that, saying, hey, I can't handle this on my own. I need to get
Yeah.
somebody to help me with this, unpack this and process that. Okay, okay. So in your book, the latest one is Leveled Up. What is
Yes.
the transition or the bridge between leveling up and leveled up?
That's a great question. So the first book, when I give it too much away, because I want people to buy it, right? I want you to, it's actually on sale, shameless plug,
Mhm.
until June the 10th for like $6, right?
Okay.
Shout out to The name of his company is called $6. The reason being is because he had $6 in his pocket. He was broke. So that's the premise of the idea that came over. Let me just put on sale for $6.
Mhm.
People want to grab it. I want to help people, right? The transition was simple. I think it was more so like I wasn't done yet at the time. Because I was typing a whole lot, and then my editor came in and she shredded a lot of the writing, which is her job. So I said, you know what, I'm definitely gonna write another one. And I know what I'm doing even more so better than the first time. And the second one, I love it a lot better because I talk about different stories. Um when I first wrote the first book, why it's fuzzy, but I think I've got a blur
Mm,
on. That's why.
there you
But
go.
anyway, the first book, I talk a lot about myself. This one, I talk a little bit more about other things as well.
Mhm.
I talk about coping with death.
Mm.
But this time was different because I was older. I had my first child when I wrote my first book.
Mhm.
My second book, I had my second child, which is my lovely daughter. And my first child is my son's name is Theodore. He's the first boy in my wife's side in 100 years. Sidebar.
Whoa.
Yeah. So in the second book, I talk about Kobe actually dying and
Mm.
his death and that particular situation. But what made it different this time versus writing about I wrote about my father's death, the first book. This book, I talk about Kobe's death a little bit because it hit me different. And I'm going to tell you why it hit me different. I remember this like it was yesterday. Um, and I never was a Kobe fan, sidebar, growing up. Never was a Kobe fan. And I find myself like mourning and grieving because I was like, what is going on? And it hit me like
Mm.
a ton of bricks one day. Kobe was a father. I'm a father.
Mhm.
Kobe was a husband. I'm a husband. Kobe had
Mm.
children. I had children. And I just put myself in his shoes and I was just like so hurt because I was like, this man was still on the second phase of his life. He had just retired from the NBA and he became I think, did he win an Oscar? He won something.
Yeah,
Some
he
kind
won for his children's book. I think it was, right.
Yeah, he won some kind of award. I don't think it was a Tony, but anyway, he won something, right? He won a major award. And I was just like, well, his life was cut off so short. But I
Mhm.
think I was in the same sense of like I'm around the same age. I'm 38, and I'm
Mhm.
like, man, God, this is a tough one. So I'm talking about death as well. My my mental space about
Mhm.
Kobe's death. I end up talking about my relationship with my grandmother. I talk about how I end up getting married. So my transgressions of some of my relationships.
Mhm.
Um, I talk about a lot of people don't know about this too. This is the shameless plug. You guys, your
Mhm.
viewers are going to enjoy this. A lot of people don't know what this is, but I talk about being a sapiosexual
Mm.
and about how as a human being, I was drawn to intellect versus physical appearance.
Mhm.
So I talk about that. Um, I didn't talk about the stock market, but I talked about budgeting.
Mhm.
So it's a very diverse book, and I have lessons in
Okay,
some of the chapters.
you're gonna learn us a thing or two in there.
Yes. So you get a lot of
Okay.
gems in both books. But the second book, like I said, I leveled up.
We got this right, even with the editor cutting stuff out, but hey, it's all a process. It's all a process. Now, I guess my next question is, so you said it took you about 2 years to do the first book and then 4 years for the second book. So the third book, which is coming out, I know I'm going to speak it to existence. What tips have you learned from writing the first two that will help you that you could give to the aspiring author, and even for yourself in writing the third one?
What I would say, don't lose your audience. I
Mhm.
say that because I believe that the first book sold over 400 copies. The second one is taking a lot longer to pick up steam. So whatever book you're writing, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, don't lose your audience and keep the momentum going. The reason being why it was a 4-year gap was because I wanted to write more better material. Um, and I leveled up. Like I said, I got 2 poems in there versus 1 poem. This book has pictures. I wanted different content in there. Now, the first book is not all about me as well. The first book has a great story about a guy named Jim. And Jim is a janitor who became an anesthesiologist. So I write about
somebody
that as
you
well.
know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jim allowed me to use a story, and I interviewed Jim, and I put that in the first book. And then as far as the second book, I don't mind putting this out there as well, but my editor was dealing with a lot of things. She lost her mom, and I remained loyal to her. I told her, I don't care how long it takes, we're going to finish this together. We started this together, we're going to finish together. So she edited my first book. I told her we're going to edit the second book. So that took a little while for her to, I allowed her to mourn as well. So
Awesome. Now let me segue a little bit, because you did mention that you are a family man. But I also saw on the blurb about leveled up, you give some relationship gems in the book as well, right? Did I read that right?
yes.
So I guess because in today's world, relationships and marriage is the buzzword. What would you say? And you say that, your wife, I guess, met under some interesting circumstances. What advice or tips would you give for somebody when they're seeking or trying to maintain a healthy relationship? Because this world is so chaotic and so much, influence is going around that's not always positive.
It's great, man. That's a great question. I would advise, goes back to healing, man. I helped raise my nephew. His name is OJ, and I'm proud of the young kiddo. But anyway, when I was raising him, I got him as a teenager. Long story short, and I would give him dating advice back then. I always told him to find a girl your speed, but I would also tell him to work on himself. And I would give him dating advice all the time, but that's no here there. But as far as when I became an adult, the best thing I feel like for anybody is to work on yourself, get your finances in order, and ask the right questions too when you're going on dates. I think that's very important. Like, ask people what their credit score is. Ask people where they see themselves within the next 5 years.
Gotcha.
Ask people, do they want kids? Things of that nature. And then the second half of the question, I'm going to answer this as well. I write about the 3 Ps. So I'm married. I've been married going on 7 years. I've been with my wife for 12.
Awesome.
I talk about the 3 Ps in this book. And as a man, as a married man, I feel like I had to write about this. You got to provide, you got to protect. And a lot of men forget about this as well. You got to please. You got to find out what your partner has, what's their love language. But as a father, as a man, my number one goal is to provide. And I talked about, I'm always leaning back on God, because I can tell people it's never me, it's God, right?
Go. That part.
So I talk about the structure of things. I wish I could find a picture, but God first, man here, woman like right there. I'm not saying we, right down, like right there. The kids, then family. So I talk about the structure, dynamics of things. Now that may look different for other people as well, but I'm just giving you what worked for me. So I talk about that as well. So that's my best advice. Work on yourself, ask the right questions, and then when you get, serious with someone, continue to work on yourself. Never get complacent. And what I use in my marriage is 3 Ps: provide, protect, and please.
All right. So you guys have been married for 7 years. You're gonna be married for another 70 years with that one. So
God willing.
Hey, what old folks say, God willing and the creek don't rise.
That part. I love it.
Let me ask you a very, very self-reflection question. You have now been the man who's responsible for leveled up and leveling up. You've processed, you went through your own journey, you've done your healing. You've got 2 babies now, 2 babies, right? A boy and a girl. What would you hope they turn and look at their father and say, you know what, Dad, I learned this from Dad?
That's a good question. Well, I'm gonna use what I learned from my father, and that's do the right thing. I think that's, and people laugh when I say this all the time. But for me, it's harder to do the right thing. It's easy to do the wrong thing.
That
So
flesh.
I hope that they learn more things, more traits of what it takes to be a good man, especially my daughter. I want her to learn that from within this home, this is what a real man looks like. And your husband is going to have to be at least better than me or equal to.
Mhm.
And as far as my son, I want him to be a better man than me. I tell this to people all the time that there's no other person on this earth that wants you to be better than him more than your father.
Mhm.
So I think I'm a great man, but I think I want my son to be even better. So I'm going to challenge him. But for both of them, I want them to do the right thing so they can be productive human beings in this world.
Awesome. Awesome. Great dad. Great dad. They're going to go far. They're going to go far. Now, we are here in 2025 as you and I are sitting here talking, and this economy that we are in is doing some strange stuff. And you have some financial gems in there. Anything that you can, without giving away the book, share with us that we can probably use in today's times?
Yeah, yeah. Our first book and second book, I gave some financial gems because I think it's not talked about enough within the African American home. But first of all, invest in the stock market.
Mhm.
I don't think people understand how much the stock market is involved in your life.
Mhm.
So the first book I talk about, a Roth IRA.
Mhm.
The Roth, of course, everybody knows you're taxing the money now versus when you get older, you get the lump sum without being taxed later on, right?
Mhm.
So do a Roth, invest in the stock market because first of all, your retirement is in the stock market.
Mhm.
My kid was a 925 or
Oh,
529,
it's
whatever
fact.
the
Yeah.
college fund 529 is in the stock market.
Mhm.
Your retirement, not retirement, but your with IUL, those
Mhm.
insurance policies is in the stock market.
Mhm.
So these next 4 years, I implore people to buy a stock book or buy my book and invest. Because the
Mhm.
great thing about investing is you can will your portfolio to your kids.
Mhm.
So building that generational wealth, and I talk about budgeting too, like getting your finances in order, your credit score in order. That's great and all, but I think the stock market is what I want people to leave with because it's I have dividends that pay me monthly. I have
Awesome.
dividends that pay me quarterly,
Awesome.
and to me, that's making your 9 to 5 money moving into a vehicle where it can create more revenue for you. And
Mhm.
imagine you build your portfolio for 40 years and you've got a pretty healthy portfolio. And even if times of you need extra money, you can cash out some and
Mhm.
you have some extra emergency money on the side as well. So I want to leave people with those gems. But you got it's very diverse. But budgeting, stock market, you name it. I had a funny story about my brother when he first got his first credit card. It is hilarious. I talk about that as well. So my brother, shout out to him. His name was Timothy. He just retired from the Marines. I'm super proud of him.
Ah.
So yeah. When we were young, I was like, he was like 18 or 19, and he got his first credit card. Now, of course, I'm like 2.5 years younger than him. So finances, of course, wasn't taught in our home,
Yeah.
making
Most
and
of
saving.
us.
So I talk about that journey as well in the book about he learned the hard way, and I learned from his lessons of how to manage a credit card.
That credit card stuff. That credit card stuff. So I now remember what I blanked out and what I wanted to ask you. And this is going back to when we first started our talk today. You mentioned that you were a certified life coach, and I don't want to dismiss that because some people don't understand that process. So what led you to becoming a certified life coach, and how does one become one?
Great, great question. And I would say this too. We're all life coaches, right? But my journey was just more getting certified. Um, and there are a lot of different programs out there. I think forgot which one. I forgot. There's several different schools. You could just Google a few of them.
Mhm.
But anyway, mine I had to take some courses. And they courses like regular school. They drill you. You have assignments and things. But the purpose of a life coach is to help one along their journey in life. Because
Mhm.
some of us we know exactly what we want, but some of us as an adult still need help. So you hire a life coach. 'Cause I've had 3 clients thus far. I need to preach that journey even more. But how I really became a life coach was a kid, and they were joking about it one day. It was me, my wife, and her friends, and they were joking about it because the kid didn't know how to swim in the pool, and he was afraid to jump in. And me being the person I am, I naturally coached him into coming to water, coming to me, and they was like, "Ha ha ha! You must be some kind of life coach or something." And then I was like, "Bing!" That went off. The light bulb went off my head, and I started doing my own research. And I lo and behold, I became a life coach. But I've always been a coach in general in life because I've always tried to do the right thing. I coached track and field for 3 years. I've always been a natural leader. Being a life coach is easily gravitated to me as well. I just want to help
Mm.
people.
Just want a true God servant, true God servant.
That's right.
Awesome, awesome. So it seems like you're a man who's always moving upward and onward. What's next in store for you?
Great question. So for me, I will shameless plug. I'll let your audience know right now. My third book is titled "No One Expletive Cares." I've drawn inspiration from other people. In particular, it's a harsh title, but I want the next book to be different. These books are definitely motivational, inspirational, self-help books. This third one's going to be a little different because I'm going to be even more authentic because life is hard. Like, I don't realize, I don't think people realize how hard it is to have 2 consecutive good days in a row. Think about it. Like, you're on up and up, and something always happens. I mean, you can have a bill come out of nowhere. You can have coworkers stress you out, family dynamics. So it's really hard to have 2 good days in a row.
2 hours sometimes.
That part, right? So I like to lean on that. Like I know life is not roses and daisies, and I'm gonna be more harsh in this one because life is hard, right? But the premise of the book is in the beginning of the book, whatever it is you want to do. If you're afraid to jump out of a plane, if you're afraid to start writing a book, by the end of the book, I want you to be able to do that thing. So I'm super excited. I've been brainstorming, but I haven't started writing, nor have I started typing on it because I'm gonna ride the wave of the second book.
Okay.
So I don't know when the third one's gonna come out, but I do know I do have the idea of what it's gonna be about. I'm excited, but that's pretty much it. And then
you're not gonna make us wait 4 years for this one, right?
I'm gonna try not to. I don't want to lose the audience. I'm gonna try not to. I'm gonna try not to. I don't, but I do want to prep the people and let them know in advance that it's not gonna be. It's gonna have some profane language in there. It's gonna be real because, and I tell this to people all the time. If you read the Bible in the Old Testament, there's a lot of
that was a messy book. That was the book with the teeth.
Look, so that's how I feel life is. Like, so I'm not gonna give you something that's not authentic. Like, this is like life is rough. Life's hard. So I'm gonna be that way in the book as well. I'm gonna give you the raw.
Give us the raw. Okay, well, we hopefully don't have to wait 4 years for this one. So I want to make sure I covered everything. So with the author, did I see you do some public speaking as well?
Yeah, I do that. I'm a man. I consider myself like the Great Gatsby almost.
Okay.
So I do public speaking. I've done several engagements. I need to do some more. So my goal, what you said earlier, was next. I'm going to build a website for my life coaching services where people can buy merchandise, people can buy the books, and they can book me for speaking engagements. So that's kind of next in the journey of life coaching. But as far as me in totality, I am a anesthesia technician. So I've been in the medical field 14 years. So in layman's terms, I help put people to sleep for a living, right? I am a serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
I have 2 businesses. One of my favorite, my bread and my butter is my digital media marketing business, which is called D&C Creative Services LLC.
Okay.
Shout out to the team.
Multiple streams. Okay.
You know it. Yeah. So keep on growing the business and stepping up and writing more about the book and getting booked for more speaking engagements. Yeah.
Now, let me make a stereotypical pun here because you mentioned you're Belizean and you got all these multiple streams of income. Do you see the differences between Caribbean culture and work ethic versus us Southern folks? You're in my hometown now, so I got to give a plug out.
Hey, nothing wrong. You know what? I talk about it in the book too. So the funny thing about being Belizean, right? I was born in Belize, and one of the greatest countries in the world. Shameless
Yes.
plug. I feel like I'm a great ambassador for Belize. But I talk about it in the book. My struggle growing up, because I left Belize when I was 3 years old.
Okay.
I've lived in LA, Chicago, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, Irvington, New Jersey, Winston-Salem. I live in Greensboro now, North Carolina.
Okay.
And I've lived in Austin, Texas.
You're just all over the place.
Yeah, so I've lived in a lot of great cities. My favorite, I have a lot of, I love them all for all different reasons. But I talk about in the book how the Belizeans consider me American, but the Americans consider me Belizean.
Yeah, it's a
So
struggle.
I talk
Yeah.
about that struggle and that dynamics. But I do tap into my Caribbean side and my Belizean side because like it runs through me. I did my DNA ancestry, and I learned a lot more about my culture as well. I go to Belize like every other year.
Wonderful spot.
So it's a beautiful place, but they do work hard. Like Jamaicans, they do work hard.
Yeah, I just had to take that dig right there because I was like, okay, he got all these businesses and multiple streams, and I know he's not finished yet. So, that's right. Well, let me wrap up with my random question, and I'm going to ask you how we connect with you because we might want to book you for speaking, how we pick up the book and stuff like that. So let's see what we got here. How often do you look at your phone every day?
Woo. That is a dangerous question, but it's real. So I have a digital media marketing business. I can't help but look at my phone every day, and how many times it's up there, y'all, because I have managed multiple accounts for clients, and I'm constantly creating graphic.
Okay.
So if I can guesstimate, woo, good God, man, I'm gonna say like opening and closing it, give or take anywhere between 15 to 20 times a day.
Ooh, okay. You think you could ever do it? Well, no, you're in digital, so you have to have some connection at all. So that's all. All righty, dear. Well, how do we connect with you if we want to book you for something? How we pick up the books? How do we get on the list to wait for the third one to come out, and all that stuff? So just let us know how we reach you.
That's a great question too. In closing, I would be remiss. Shout out to my lovely wife. Shout out to my lovely team, my marketing team, and shout out to 𝗃 Apparel Company. So I had to give those shout outs. But my main page on Instagram is Fran underscore Chise underscore A underscore mogul. And then my life coaching page is very more simple. Leveling up underscore 2025. So you can if you follow me, I'm definitely going to follow you back. I may follow you for multiple accounts because I manage multiple accounts. As far as speaking engagements, you can reach out to me there. And what I did with the books is I gave them my personal email. So for me, I wanted to connect with the people. And if they had a question during reading the book, you're able to email me. And I think that's made it more personable. Yeah. So that email is leveling up with the number one author at gmail.com. Very simple, all one word. And if you have any questions, please I answer all emails on Mondays. Give me 1 or 2 days, but I will be honored to answer any one of your questions. So I'm excited. The second book is picking up steam. The first one, like I said, sold 400 copies. So my goal is higher for the second book, but the second book is a better read. If you read the first one or second one, doesn't matter. Email me. I'll answer all your questions.
I love it. Well, sir, I just appreciate the work that you're doing, what you're putting out into this world, how you're letting God use you, being a blessing to others. I want to, from my small corner of the world, thank you for the work that you are doing, and we will keep our eye open for that third book.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Reed, and thank you for allowing me to use your platform. I like to give their people their flowers while they're live. So you keep winning, Queen, and thank you so much. It was an honor.
Thank you. That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reed, and I will see everybody next time.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Black Men Matter series on the Male Perspective. This podcast is an initiative of Conversations in Color, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to uplifting Black voices. Make sure to check out our website, conversationsincolor.org, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms. We'll see you on the next episode.